Today, I want to talk about self-diagnosing for avoidant personality disorder. It is. This might be a little bit of a controversial video. However, I really want to make it clear that it's actually dangerous to self-diagnose when you have avoidant personality disorders, because you just can't be objective. You just can't really get a grasp on the complexity of the disorder on your own. People tend to, for lack of a better word, exaggerate their symptoms, and they just think, that they've got it worse than they actually do, and they don't realize exactly the degree to which you have to have these problems and impact your life for you to get an actual real diagnosis. Because first there is the diagnosis that you have to do for the avoidant part of it, and then there's also the personality disorder part of it. You have to have both, and they have to impact your life to the point where you basically can't live your life. And so that's a problem. And the bigger problem is that once you are avoidant, you're avoidant for life. You cannot change it. It's a permanent condition. Now, you could have traits, which, everybody has traits from time to time. Everybody has traits of avoidant personality disorder. And, okay, so you can have traits. That's great. Well, you know what? If you have a trait, you can change it. It really bothers me that people would pin a label onto themselves when it's so permanent and it makes you so stuck, and it might not be true. If you have gone on to Google and checked your symptoms and it comes up with avoidant personality disorder, even though it might seem hard, it might seem impossible, go to a doctor, go to a therapist, go to a psychiatrist, get a real diagnosis, find out what's going on. Because it could be that you just, are depressed, and if they give you certain pills, you'll completely lose all your symptoms. That would be awesome. It could be something completely different that has a therapy that actually works and that you can make actual progress. When you're avoidant, there's nothing to be done. Basically, at this point, my life is getting through today, and then getting through tomorrow, and getting through next week, and nothing's ever going to change, and this is it. It can't improve. It never will. And I really hope that anybody that's watching this, I hope that you have more hope than I do. I hope there's a better possible life for you, and I hope that you look for it. The other side of it is, there is this whole social media aspect of avoidant personality disorder, and some avoidants do talk, but a lot of avoidants are loath to talk even online, although it can be an absolute lifesaver, because for true avoidant people, they might really not talk to anybody else. Most days, I literally only talk to one family member who I live with, and that's it. Other than online, I don't actually speak to anybody, and that's my reality. So people who go onto online forums, really, that's what I did. When I got my diagnosis, I had never heard of this before. I went into an online forum to learn about it, and it really was a lifesaver. The thing is, if you're not avoidant and you go onto these websites, if you're self-diagnosed, if you have traits, here's the problem. This is where you're not going to like what I'm going to say. Avoidant people are generally quiet. they don't talk much. I talk a lot for an avoidant person. As long as I don't have to have an actual relationship with somebody, I can talk to them, because I have less of the social anxiety than a lot of people. Because, of course, it's different if you have social anxiety versus avoidant personality disorder. They're sort of similar, but they're different. Anyway, but most avoidant people don't talk. If you're not avoidant and you go onto these sites, it's very easy to basically take them over and to talk about yourself and your issues. Well, your issues might be a real honest problem for you, and I'm not trying to diminish that, but they might not be an avoidant issue, and you might pass along information that is inaccurate. Now, I know that you shouldn't pay any attention to what people say on forums, and they can just talk about whatever, and they have no way of backing it up. The problem is that there isn't really any information about avoidant personality disorder. You really can't learn about it by reading the experts like Cantor, who is, by the way, a big jerk. And I mean, yes, you should know what people say about us, but know that take everything he says with a grain of salt. The guy is just not nice, to say the least. So you go onto these forums and you think that what people are saying is truth. That happened to me when I first got my diagnosis. I went onto forums and people would say, I am avoidant, and I just believed it. And I just thought that the way they are is how avoidant people are. I had no idea. I thought, again, I went on and I thought I was just totally weird, that I didn't behave that way, that the suggestions they were making didn't apply to me. And how can they, they're making progress, so they're better than me. I mean, it basically destroyed me again. And it can be very, very triggering. And if you go onto these sites and you talk about, oh, I have these many people I'm talking to, and it's such a drag, I don't want to talk to them. And you're talking to somebody who literally has not had a friend in 2 or 3 decades. It's cruel, is what it is. It really is. And you pass along bad information. And the worst I ever saw, by far, was that all people, have an impression that avoidants have poor hygiene. Oh, really? Okay, first of all, people know what avoidant personality disorder is? No, that's not true. Most 99.9% of people have never heard of avoidant personality disorder unless they are actual doctors and they glanced at it once, or they know somebody who is avoidant. Nobody knows about this. And second of all, no, avoidant people do not have poor hygiene. I think this person was confusing it with depression, of which, yes, it is kind of common that people don't take care of themselves. But, so that person should have been talking about I am depressed, not I am avoidant. And this is the, impact I'm having on people. That's just wrong. And it confuses people who are avoidant and learning about it, that they think this is the truth when they read it on these things. They don't know. Why would you know? Why would you assume that people are lying? Why would you assume that people are, pretending that they have a diagnosis when they actually don't have a diagnosis? And I know that's harsh, and I know that, but see, that's the reality. If you're self-diagnosed, you're not diagnosed. If you're self-diagnosed, then you're taking on a label that most likely, I'm talking probably maybe 1 in 20, if that, people that are self-diagnosed are really actually avoidant. Most people who are avoidant do not look up the symptoms and then go to a doctor. Most people who are avoidant have some sort of crisis, and then they're sort of forced to go to a doctor. And the truth is that generally they don't know about it ahead of time, and it's a huge relief to finally get this label of I know what I'm doing and I know who I am, and and it just opens everything up for them. If you self-diagnose, that's not what's going on. What's going on is you're deciding to align with a label and it's not accurate. Sorry, it's not. And that's a great thing, because that means that you can make progress. So if you do go onto these forums, try to be aware that you're not trying to overtake it with your boisterous personality, because, you know, compared to the regular population, maybe you're a wallflower, but compared to the avoidants, you're the life of the party. Okay, there's another clue that you're not an avoidant. If you go on there, don't try to talk with authority. Don't say, this is how it is based on your experience, because unless you're avoidant and you know about it and you've researched it and you've read everything you can possibly read, including Cantor, who's evil, unless you really truly have some major experience and you've done therapy yourself so that you understand what part of it is avoidance, what part of it came from your childhood, what part of it is everything, you can break it all apart, you really can't talk about avoidance. So try not to talk about yourself with a voice of authority, saying that you're avoidant when you haven't gotten a diagnosis. Self-diagnosing does not make you an authority on avoidant personality disorder. Just please try not to be selfish on social media, and take it over, and try to, you know, keep in mind that there are people that have it much worse. There's always somebody that has it worse than you. There are people that have it way worse than me. I know this. And living with the traits can be horrible. And I know that too. But also you can improve traits. You can improve avoidant personality disorder. So get a diagnosis. Be aware of your presence when you're on social media sites, and in forums and things like that. And, you know, like I said, don't try to take on an air of authority when in fact, you know yourself really well, but you know, you're hiding behind this label of avoidance and talking about yourself, and you're not talking about avoidant personality disorder. You're not helping anybody, and it's selfish. So please try to keep that in mind. And again, get a diagnosis so that you can make your life better.